Hi, I'm Margaret and this is Mag Sing Along. Today I'm going to teach a secret about the rib cage and how it's used to support your singing. So let's talk briefly about what the rib cage is. The rib cage is inside of our torso, and the upper ribs are connected to the sternum, while the lower ribs are actually called floating ribs and they're connected to the upper ribs. And those are mainly controlled by muscles in our torso. Inside of the rib cage are our lungs, and those fill up with air and allow us to breathe. Right below the lungs and the rib cage is our diaphragm, and the diaphragm is a very big muscle that supports our air inhale and exhale. So when we inhale, our rib cage can actually expand outward or upward, has two different directions, to allow more air to enter the lungs. And then when we exhale, the rib cage will naturally collapse inward to start the next cycle of breathing. Now, singing is a very fancy way of breathing, and that means we have to be very conscious about how we are using our breathing muscles and our whole body to inhale and exhale appropriately for the singing. So when we are inhaling to sing, we definitely want our diaphragm muscle, which sits right below the lungs, to drop and flatten out so that it contracts. That's very important. That's like step number one for singing. Once you have that down, you want to learn how to properly expand the rib cage so that you have a full tank of air and a whole lot of muscles contracted to support that big tank of air. So that's just the inhale part of using the rib cage for singing. The hardest part is the exhale in singing. When we naturally exhale in life, when we're talking or just sitting, our rib cage will naturally expand on the inhale and naturally collapse on the exhale, and we might not notice it. It might not be much of a movement. It's very subtle. But when we're singing and we're consciously expanding our ribs, we can't actually allow the rib cage to collapse right away, because all that air we have in our lungs, it's pressure, it's air pressure, and if we collapse the wall that all that air pressure is in, the air pressure is going to go up right away. And then it presses on our throat. All that air is trying to get out, basically. The walls just collapsed on it. So then we get a feeling of squeeze or pressed, and our sound doesn't sound as good. Our voice might sound very strained. We also might run out of air very fast. So this is very hard to control because we have to strengthen all those muscles we use in our rib cage to be able to actually keep the ribs expanded on the exhale. It seems very weird at first, but that is professional breathing technique. This is how opera singers breathe. This is how professional pop, rock, musical theater singers breathe. It's all about expanding the rib cage on the inhale and then staying expanded on the exhale. The whole time. You're basically just open ribs all the time. And this takes a lot of strength. So I assume you would like a demonstration of what I'm talking about. So here we go. So I recommend putting your hands on your lower mid ribs. This is going to be tricky for a lot of people who are tight in their shoulders. So try to loosen up a little bit, because this is the best way to feel what your rib cage is doing. So you want to put your hands right here below your chest. The fingers here are feeling the muscles, especially your obliques right here. And your thumb is on the back rib to feel that expansion back there. If this is uncomfortable for you, you can put like a belt around this area. And again, it should be above your belly button, okay? Not on your waist like this. It's the little bit above, so you're really feeling your ribs. So once you feel like you have a good hold, just try inhaling with them opening, and it looks like this. That's it. Now, watch out for inhaling too high. It looks like this. Notice how I got misaligned, my shoulders rose. That's not a good inhale. My diaphragm isn't even dropping. You need to make sure that you stay aligned when you practice with your rib cage, and it's gonna be hard, so be patient. But you definitely don't want your shoulders or chest to move. It's just right here. Okay? Now, a lot of times people have trouble with their abdominals getting tight. You want to make sure this is nice and loose when you breathe for singing, not tight. You want to let that belly go. So on the side, it looks like this. Okay? Again, it shouldn't look like this. That is incorrect. So once you feel like you've gotten that inhale down where you don't really move much, all you feel is the side ribs are sort of coming out. Then you're ready to try the hardest part, which is the exhale, the singing part. But we're not going to sing yet. First, we're going to just try to exhale on a steady s or sh, whichever one you prefer. And see if you can keep the ribs expanded the whole time, or at least half of the time, so you don't contract right away. So it looks like this. So you get your inhale, and then you exhale. And then you inhale again. And you should already be expanded in your ribs. This takes so much practice and muscle strengthening. So you want to be practicing this every day, and just try to feel your rib cage stay opened all the time if you really, really want to get this down. This is probably what it's going to look like the first time you do it. Let me show you the wrong way. That's my rib cage collapsing on my exhale, and I ran out of air really fast, and it's basically not going to support my singing at all because I'm going to get squeezed. So that's why you need to use your hands. It's really hard to feel if the ribs are opening or staying open at all the first many times that you practice this. Having something pressed against those muscles is really key for learning how to control them and strengthen them. So you want to use your hands when you're practicing to push against your muscles and your ribs. You want to put that pressure against them so you have something to push against on the ribs. So really push in without getting misaligned and without putting tension in your shoulders. Try to relax up there. And really try to resist the urge to collapse. So I'm going to show you one more time what to do. You inhale, and you exhale. You just keep trying to open, keep trying to open, keep trying to open, keep trying to open. And that's the goal. So there is an exercise that you can practice to help strengthen those intercostal muscles in your ribs that control the movement, and to help improve neurologically your coordination. It's called the 4-7-8 breathing. You can change the numbers if you like, but 4-7-8 also calms down your nervous system, so it seems kind of like a nice partnership. And you basically inhale for 4, hold for 7, and exhale for the count of 8. And then you repeat at least 3 to 5 times in a row. And again, the goal is to keep the rib cage expanded the whole time. So let me give you an example. Okay, so you inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you inhale and repeat. So that's the breathing exercise that I recommend practicing at least twice a day, 3 to 5 times in a row. And the most important part of that exercise is the holding for a count of 7. That is really going to strengthen your muscles because you have to maintain all that air pressure. You're holding so much air pressure in your lungs, so the muscles have to really work to stay opened. So don't forget to hold for the count of 7. It's inhale 4, hold 7, and exhale for 8, and repeat. Some things to watch out for when dealing with opening the rib cage for singing is the abdominal wall is going to want to get tight. It's natural, it's really common. Again, if you make sure that you're inhaling with the belly loose, it should be much easier to make sure the abdominals don't come in on the exhale but stay basically where they were when you inhaled. You want to feel maybe a slight pressing out, but it's very subtle. You just want to avoid the abdominal walls coming inward on your torso because that's going to squeeze here. So that takes a lot of practice. If you're aligned, it makes it a lot easier. The other thing to watch out for are the shoulders. The shoulders are going to want to collapse in when you practice the ribs. After a while, you might notice your shoulders are coming forward or really high. So just try to practice this ribcage breathing in front of a mirror so you can watch out for the shoulders getting really off your alignment. You want them to be really relaxed if you can. Just try to let them be chill because you don't need them. Before we end, I'm going to give you an example of what it sounds like to sing with your ribs opened versus with them collapsing. So I'm going to sing the first phrase of Quando men vo from Puccini's La Bohème. Very famous aria, you'll recognize it. And you can see what I'm doing with my ribs. So that's way easier when I'm able to keep my ribcage opened. Now I'm going to show you what it sounds like and looks like if I collapse my ribcage while I sing. I think you can hear and see what happened. One thing you might have heard was that my voice got kind of breathy and I got very tired. I felt like I was like working out or something. So I had the urge to want to inhale right away, almost gasping. And then I couldn't keep myself open, so I kept collapsing again and getting fatigued, and my voice didn't sound as full, right? So this is the benefit to ribcage breathing. It allows you to optimally use your whole torso efficiently to support your voice. And that's basically it. That's the secret to professional breathing technique for singing. It does take a lot of practice and patience and strengthening. So if you keep practicing and are really diligent, you will see some improvement, but only you can make that change for yourself. So keep up the work. I'm Margaret and this was Mag Sing Along. You can join me about every month for tips on singing.